for the best possible 2025. That's why we're all here. We're all here to continue to be better. It's not necessarily live our best life. It's continue to grow, continue to progress, and realize that there's no perfect state. But if we learn something each and every day, it sets us up for a better future. Hello and welcome back to the Connected Mindset Live. New year, new show, hopefully a renewed vision for you. One of the reasons we put together these episodes, this is what we call a connected compilation episode, where we bring together all the lessons from the show up to this point to hopefully give you a clearer view of your future. We're going to talk about a couple of very interesting concepts that I feel have shaped myself and the reason that the Connected Mindset Live exists. But before we get there, curious how your New Year's resolutions, the goals you set, are coming along. We're 10 days into the year. I decided this year not to set New Year's resolutions. I have pretty clear goals and focused actions that I feel I need to take each and every day that are going to set me up to be the best version of myself going forward. There's always ways to improve. So I don't really want to set a goal, a resolution for something I feel in the past I've been able to surpass. For me, it's kind of setting the bar a little bit lower than I want to. I try to focus on the micro activities each and every day, but everybody's different. Everybody's different in the way they approach a new year, a fresh start, a new way to look at life. And one of the concepts I want to dive into that have been critical throughout my career, my development from professional sports to now being a cybersecurity CEO, is a concept called cybernetics. And this concept may sound complex at first, but we're going to dive into why it's so important for your blueprint for 2025 and every year after that going forward. Cybernetics was something that I came across when I was in college. I was failing out of school. I was doing terrible from an academic standpoint. And I found a professor who was in the economics department who studied a concept in his free time called cybernetics. And cybernetics has nothing to do with technology. So I want you to kind of throw that out the window if that's where your mind goes initially. There was a gentleman after World War II. His name was Norbert Wiener. And he was a mathematician. He was somebody who was very analytical. They called him the later life prodigy. He was a guy that was very into how life and systems work together, and not necessarily technology systems. At that time, technologies, were really used for war. It was kind of like, ships and, bombs, different things of that nature was considered a system. They didn't depend as much on computers and things of that nature that we depend on today. And he created this concept called cybernetics, which he thought would help better societies, better individuals when we look at self-regulating systems. Self-regulating systems, think about your brain, how your brain processes different things, how you go out in the world and look at the environment to get feedback. And when I thought about cybernetics, I really was interested in how it could help the human brain be optimized to just make things more simple, more clear. Clarity is a big thing I've always sought out and tried to go after, whether it was in my academic world and baseball. And in order to get that clarity, I had to find a way to get feedback rapidly. I feel like as we get older in life, we seek less feedback. When we're kids, we're constantly, getting feedback from our parents in school if we're doing things right or wrong. And sometimes as we get older, we don't seek out feedback as intentionally. Maybe it just comes at us, or we get numb to the feedback because we are kind of comfortable or stuck in the position that we're in. So cybernetics has been huge for me. It's one of the reasons that we created the Connected Mindset Live, because as I was going out after baseball, I tried to get feedback on ways to unbecome the baseball player, unbecome the person that just thought about things from an athletic standpoint. I wanted to become, a cybersecurity CEO. I wanted to become somebody who understood the game of business. So cybernetics have been key. And I want to just pop this up real quick. Not a great image, but it's basically, think about your brain as the system, and you basically output something into the environment and you get feedback. And it's that continual process of making sure you acknowledge the feedback and learn from those points of feedback, good, bad, and indifferent. Every point of feedback is productive, whether it's something you want to hear or don't want to hear. And what I tried to do with the Connected Mindset Live as I was having these one-on-one conversations was, what if I could create a platform where people could come each week and get feedback on a part of their life? Think financial. We've talked about the nervous system. We've talked about psychology. We've talked about athletics and some of the things we've gotten from athletics. We've talked about entrepreneurship and how some of these world leaders that have joined us have been able to take feedback and make it a part of who they are and help them improve. And that's what Cybernetics means to me. Cybernetics is now the foundation of every technology system. So it just showed that Dr. Norbert at the time really wanted to create something that helped change the human mind, helped us better understand the human mind. But later on, as the internet became more impactful in our lives and was being created, they used these concepts to actually create technology, create AI, machine learning, how we're interacting on this, it's getting feedback from the way I'm inputting and vice versa. So I think it's just something as you go into 2025 to keep in mind, seek out feedback. Think about yourself as, not necessarily a system like everybody else's, but you have unique thoughts. And if you can go out into the world and seek feedback, I think that's going to allow you to live life with more clarity. And that's what we're all about on this show, helping you connect to the stories, the people, the ideas that are going to help set you up for your best life in the moment, and hopefully a life that continues to get better. One of the things we're going to dive into this year, we've had about 100 episodes of the Connected Mindset Live up to this point. I'm really excited for where we're headed in talking about relationships, entrepreneurship, mental and physical fitness. I talk a lot about being mentally fit, being able to have that fitness, not just physically, but also mentally, nervous system regulation, much more about how people have expressed their true self and been vulnerable enough to go carry out their mission. A lot of the people that I look up to are extremely vulnerable in the way that they carry out their mission, and they don't really care about what the output may be. They're focused on a goal, but at the end of the day, they're getting constant feedback, and they're kind of filtering through that feedback in order to help make their mission more clear and better going forward. I really hope the cybernetics concept helps you set a more clear blueprint for 2025, whether you've written goals down, whether you haven't. This episode is going to really compile all the episodes that we put together and 8 key lessons that we feel will help set you up, and I know it's helped set me up for a better 2025. But bouncing back to the start of 2024 to me was one of the most toughest, but also the most beautiful years of my life. With this show, with some of the conversations that I've had, it's really helped me work through a lot of areas in my life. Started the year 2024 wondering if my business would survive. That's a very anxious feeling if you feel like your income may not last through the year. It did, fortunately. Tough news about my son's autism diagnosis, which was, as a parent, that's a big uncertainty in your life when you're going through that. We've turned that around. We've helped him continue to grow. And one of the things I was battling with as I was going through those business and things with my son was I was turning to specific vices, alcohol, overeating, things of that nature, to try to numb a lot of those problems, to avoid those problems that were in front of me. It wasn't extreme, but it's one of those things I noticed that as things got harder, I was trying to look for an outlet to not lean in fully, but lean in a little bit, and then find a vice. That could be scrolling on social media. It could be any vice in your life. That's what I was turning to, and I really needed to turn that around in 2024. So I decided to hit the reset button early on in 2024. I scheduled my first marathon since pro baseball, which was huge for me. I was about 8 years out, so I hadn't done a competitive thing besides baseball since that point, and that really allowed me to elevate the way that I live each day. Just by having that challenge scheduled, I was able to complete it in just under 5 hours. So that was pretty incredible for me. to be able to push through the ups and downs of a marathon. Got my son all the treatment that he needed. That was a huge goal I set at the beginning of the year, is to create more clarity for myself, for him, as he kind of develops as a young man, and get him the support and treatment that he needed. That was a huge breakthrough and huge success. Met an amazing partner who became a part of my support system. We all need people around us to, going back to that feedback point, give us feedback, give us honest feedback. That's what great friends and partners do at the end of the day. So, looking forward to continuing to, hopefully you attract people in your lives that give you that honest feedback. I think that's so critical to each and every one of us. So without further ado, 2025 is here. I'd like to distill some of the lessons that we learned in 2024 through this show, and hopefully it helps you set up for a better 2025. One of the things that I know is one of my superpowers, and I'm not great at everything, is distilling down information and presenting it in a way that is very simple, hopefully simple to you, and meets you in the middle. We've had our episodes, about 100 of them now, and I really try to take little nuggets that I feel like are most relevant to the current events that we're living through today. Where I want to start is with an episode we had with Dina Cataldo. She mentioned schedule what is important to you. And this has been something I've always recognized, but she put it in a way that really helped me construct my schedule and how I allocate my time and energy each day based off what my top priorities are. And it sounds rudimentary, but it really is something I see a lot of people not do. I hadn't done it in the past. Before this episode, obviously I had, work calls on the schedule. I tentatively scheduled exercise. Typically I would exercise when I didn't have things that were on the schedule for work. And it really helped me kind of take my priorities, put them into my schedule, and then look at where the gaps were. And that told me how I was living my daily life, which is something I encourage you to do, is kind of think about, what are your priorities? Just write them down on a sheet of paper and compare that with your schedule. Typically, they're not in incongruency. They're not in alignment with those priorities because we're scheduling based off of somebody else's priorities or other people in our lives. And if we can do that first and foremost, then we can plug in other important things, time with friends, connection rituals that you have outside of that. And you'll realize you'll live with a lot more confidence and a lot more congruency, which is going to help you live a better 2025. Another thing that popped up on the show multiple times was this concept of healing. I think a lot of people are talking about, healing your inner child, healing some of the things in your life that kind of haunt you when hard times come up. I call them the burning boxes now, after an episode with Adam Kasich, who basically mentioned open the burning boxes of your past. I think a lot of times, especially when things have been very hard in our past, we don't look at them clearly and open those burning boxes. We try to keep them closed because they're scary to open. But if we just take a little bit of time, and I'm not saying each and every day, you have to focus on your healing and all the negatives in your past, but periodically find ceremonies, find rituals to go back and open those burning boxes, because once you open them, you recognize them, you learn the lessons from them, that fire kind of goes away and they just become a part of your past and who you are, but they make you better in the present and future. And I think we all want that. But sometimes healing seems very woo-woo for people. It seems like, why do I need to heal? I just need to keep going forward, and those things won't continue to pop up. But what I found in my own life is those burning boxes keep popping up over and over again if we don't go back and recognize, what is this trying to tell me and what can I learn from it? And then those boxes, they don't go away, but they don't burn because, they don't continue to burn when bad things come up, and it makes those bad things even worse and the fire even bigger from a negative standpoint. So Adam mentioned that very clearly. And after I left that episode, I really started to work a lot internally and also through some of the therapy that I do on those burning boxes. And I just feel so much more clear and light after visiting those boxes that I felt like I had to revisit in my past that I was avoiding. Marcus Sheridan, who's an incredible marketer, an incredible communication expert, mentioned something that we ask each and every guest at the end of each show is, what does connection mean to you today? And he basically, he put it very simply. He said, connection is energy. Connection is something that other people can feel, that energy that you're connecting with them with, and they want to keep coming back. And that's true connection. That's the thing that I feel when I connect with the right people, the right business ideas, the right strategies, is I can feel a energy transfer that I need to continue to go down that path. And I think when we get to the point of being able to connect with the right things, a lot of people are just making connections everywhere, which is kind of part of the connection maturity journey that we talk about on this show. But think about connection as energy. We all feel energy, whether we turn it off, we try to recognize it, maybe we overanalyze it, but try to feel the energy that comes when you connect to something, whether it's a new business idea or a new client. If you can really recognize those energies and try to decipher good, bad, or indifferent and how that's going to turn out in the future, it makes you more connection intelligent or energy intelligent, which I think is an important part of life, to kind of be able to use the intuition that we're supposed to leverage to be able to make informed decisions. And that's going to definitely help you with a more clear path forward, and is going to set you up for the best possible 2025. That's why we're all here. We're all here to continue to be better. It's not necessarily live our best life. It's continue to grow, continue to progress, and realize that there's no perfect state. But if we learn something each and every day, it sets us up for a better future. Marcus Collius is an incredible individual, brings a crazy amount of energy to the world. He wrote a book called Playing a Bigger Game, and he said something on the show that I've recognized in the past, but I knew would really impact you in the audience when he was talking through it. And he talked about creating your recipe. And a lot of people think about like finding yourself, find your passion, things of this nature. And I've gotten way away from those types of things of, finding your passion, finding yourself, because I think those are kind of unending loops of seeking, versus realizing that you create your mind state, you create your mindset, you create the energy that you bring into the world. And if you can look at it as a recipe, these certain things that I do each day lead me to be more present, or they lead me to feel better, to bring my best self to my business or to my family, to the things that I care about. I think creating that recipe is so important. And he mentioned coming from a childhood that was one way, and he wanted to completely change his narrative. And what he mentioned is he tried to kind of seek and find that, but until he had that light bulb moment of, I need to create the recipe that's going to set me up to change this narrative. It really helped me realize that I need to stop seeking, and I need to just create what I feel is best, and then make it little adjustments, get feedback from the environment, from myself, the way my body feels, and then create that recipe. I think that's so important for so many of us, is stop trying to find and just start creating. Start that action process, have an action bias, where you're continually putting in the action needed in order to create your recipe, versus just trying to find, reading, consuming YouTube videos, things of that nature. You actually have to go out there and act, and that's going to help you create the recipe for you. Dr. Nikisha Hammond mentioned something about asking the question outside. She mentioned, questions are the best answers. We've talked about that many times on the show. But ask the questions outside. Ask the bold, vulnerable questions to the people that you respect and trust. And you'll oftentimes, by just being a little bit more vulnerable and asking the specific question, you'll be amazed at what you'll get from as feedback from the environment. For me, sometimes, I would ask, why is my business not breaking through to that next level? Or why do I continue to feel stuck at this specific level? Or why am I not able to express this emotion? And oftentimes we keep that stuff in because we are scared of what the other person is going to respond with, or say back, or think about us. And whenever I've asked those big questions that I'm contemplating with inside, before I get down a a loop that negatively impacts my mindset, it's really incredible what I'm able to get from the outside environment just by asking that to another person with another perspective. And maybe it takes a couple different people. Oftentimes on this show, I'll ask the same question that I'm going through in my life to 5, 6, 7, 8 guests, and I'll get different answers. But one of those answers really helped me gain clarity on that question that I'm trying to ask myself and getting to an answer quicker. I think that helps us move forward with more velocity. It helps us move forward much quicker than we would otherwise. Here are a couple lessons that I've learned personally, and I've kind of pulled out from different episodes across the Connected Mindset Live. Not necessarily lessons that somebody said, but lessons that I feel have been most impactful for my life as a part of hosting this show, and some of the feedback from guests like yourself that have kind of helped me gain clarity on some things I've been looking for. The first one, which is lesson 6, is anything I don't change, I choose, and anything I neglect, I inevitably lose. I think that is something I've learned somewhat the hard way, but I continue to be reiterated it throughout my business and personal life. One of the things we have to change if we hope to continue to progress and move forward. If I don't change something, or if you don't change something that you know you need to change, you're making a choice to not change it, and that's going to negatively impact you. Neglecting anything, you're going to lose it. For me, early on in my business career, maybe I started a business because I wanted to have more time with my family, and I was able to grow those relationships with my family, but I neglected the business, which the business needed more of my time. And I would inevitably lose it. And I didn't really get that lesson until I realized that I have a choice each and every day on what I spend my time and energy on. And if I spend my time on something, then I'm going to be able to grow it. If I don't, then I'm going to lose it eventually. And I think that's something important. Going back to connected lesson 1, schedule what's important to you. I started to realize how important that was for me, because if I didn't want to lose something, I needed to schedule time and energy to put towards it in order to nurture it, just like a plant, just like any seed that you lay in life, whether it's a relationship, a business, or an idea, you have to nurture and cultivate it. And we talk a lot about cultivating a connected mindset. And if you neglect your mindset, you're going to lose a lot of that. You're not going to be able to continue to gain momentum. If you don't change your mindset, that's also a choice. So it's on nobody but yourself. And I think that's such an important concept. Connected lesson 7, have faith and hope and practice it daily. I think when I was coming out of baseball, I was very focused on how God had blessed me, how faithful and hopeful I was for a bright future. And then you get punched in the face, then a business fails, relationship fails, something goes wrong. And during those moments, I lost faith and hope. And I don't want that to happen to any of you. I've been able to gain that back over time through going through multiple hard times, is finding ways to practice faith and hope daily, whether it was a great day or the worst day ever. I do that through reading the Bible and getting wisdom from the Bible, or talking to people that I care about what I'm going through, that I still have faith, and kind of speaking it out to the world or to myself, just having that internal conversation on, I still have faith that I'm on the right path. I have hope that this is all going to work out how I need it to, or how I want it to. And I'm going to continue to practice that daily. That's been such a foundational kind of rooting practice for me. Whether it's God, whether it's, family members, just have faith and hope in something. And I think that's really going to set you up for the best possible 2025, best possible future. Connected lesson 8, embrace every situation that life throws at you. All it is a sign of progress and not perfection. So I think that's so important. Something we hear a lot in the world is like embrace the suck, embrace failure, choose your hard, things of that nature. I used to run away from the hard. Obviously, as a baseball player, you can't run off the mound when things get hard, but mentally I would start to retreat and feel kind of out of control. I would feel a lot of unclarity when things would get hard. And I was able to build that muscle through athletics, but it's a whole different world when it comes to business when everything feels like it's falling apart. You feel like you're about to lose everything. Really to embrace it and lean into it. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's so necessary to continue to progress. And I think that's just so important that we're not getting to a point of perfection. We're getting to a number of continual points of progression. And that's something I continue to focus on as I go through hard moments, is to embrace that situation. It's not easy to do, but I think it's really going to set you up. So just to recap, schedule what's important to you, open the burning boxes of your past, do the healing that you need to do this year to be able to set you up for success, whatever that means for you going forward. Connection is energy, so important for the connected mindset and connecting to the things that are right for you. Create your own recipe. Don't continue to seek and read and explore. Find ways to put those things into action. Ask the question outside. Ask the vulnerable question to the people around you. You may not get the response you want, but oftentimes, on average, you will get a great response that will help you get to an answer quicker. Anything you don't change, you choose. Anything you neglect, you're going to lose. I think that's incredibly important. Have faith and hope. Practice it daily, whether that's praying, whether that's a conversation, whether it's a ritual ceremony that you have. Find a way to continually have faith and hope. That's going to help you get unstuck in any situation. We all get into stuck situations. I've been in many of them. The people that I love and care about have been stuck before. I think that's something that we're all going to reach, but we have to be able to have those rituals, those practices on a daily basis, not just when things get hard. You don't start praying when things get hard. Embrace every situation. We're going to continue to have episodes on this show. We're going to continue to talk about the very hard things. And one of the consistencies you're going to hear is how they embraced the situation, and that made them the leader they are in their community, in their family, in their business, because they recognize that they're continuing to progress, whether it's hard or the good, the ups, the downs, and it's not perfection. I think that is such a important thing as you're going to set goals in 2025, or you've already set goals. Don't strive for perfection, strive for progress. Looking forward to continually growing this show. We have some incredible guests scheduled for 2025, guests that I feel are going to meet you in the middle. They're going to help you progress in your journey, and I'm going to progress along the way. Everybody on the Connected Mindset team, we're going to hire and bring on a broadcasting team. So there's the production's going to get better and better this year. We're going to start putting together in-person events. I'm traveling throughout the world this year to speak about the connected mindset. And each and every conference and event, corporate event that I go to, folks say, how can we learn more about this? Come to an event specifically on some of the areas of adopting and cultivating a connected mindset. We're going to have our first event in 2025. It'll be in person and virtual. So that's going to be incredible to bring together all of these lessons so that people of like minds can get together to continue to talk about it, continue to cultivate it within themselves. Maybe they ask those questions to people who are on the journey with them. Really looking forward to it. We couldn't put on this show if it wasn't for you. Really looking forward to what 2025 has in store for you. I want each and every one of you to notice and recognize that, you're loved, you are enough. I say that to a lot of the people around me, you're enough. I try to tell myself that as well, as you are the perfect version of yourself today, but you want to continue to progress. I think that's so important. This is the right time. Everything that you desire is within arm's length. We have a depth perception problem most of the time where, you think it's so far away. You think the goal is not until 12/31/2025. But if you just do the right things, you take the right actions, you connect and get feedback from the right types of platforms like the Connected Mindset Live, you'll be amazed what you'll accomplish over the next coming days, months, and toward the end of the year, you're going to be very proud of yourself. Be proud of yourself today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, my name is Greg Tomczyk. Thanks so much for tuning into the Connected Mindset Live.